Good morning. This is now the fifth time that I've had to redo this video. This is the timeline of the last week of the Lord's life. And what we're doing today, it's Easter Day. And what we're going to do today is we're going to recount the events of the Easter Day. Okay? But I've had to redo it 4 times, 5 times, because each time I did it, I found a little mistake in the text. So I've had to reorder some of them and put them in the right order. This is a very difficult thing to do. And I have to say, it's one of the most difficult things I've ever done. So let's go through it and we'll talk about it together. So what is this day? This is the first day of the week. This is what we call Sunday. But they called the days of the week by a number or by an ordinal. So they'd either call it day 1, day 2, day 3, or they would call it first day, second day, third day. We go by the first day of the week. This is the way that the New Testament church records this day. It is the 17th of Nisan. Now, the 17th of Nisan is a very important day. The 17th, when the ark rested on Mount Ararat, it was the 17th day of the 7th month, which is very significant. When Israel steps onto the new land on the other side of the Red Sea, and don't forget, while they're actually in the water and the water's divided, the Lord closes the sea partially behind them to drown all of the Egyptian army. Now, if you think that the opening of the sea is a miracle, think of this. While the children of Israel were actually in the water, the Egyptian army decided to chase them through the water. So what the Lord did to slow them down is he took the hubs off their chariots, the wheels off their chariots, so that they drove like sledges, and that slowed them down very considerably. But while they were in the water, the Lord caused the sea to close over the Egyptian army, but still be open for the Israelites to escape. That is very incredible. It's one thing to open the sea. It's quite another thing to close it for some and keep it open for others. That's remarkable. But eventually they get onto the side of what's called Midian. And if you look at any Bible map, you'll see exactly where Midian is. Midian is right next to Jebel Lawz, which is the mountain of the law. Okay, so that's that. And they step onto new land on the same day that the ark rested on Mount Ararat. That's very significant. God always counts time, and all days are very, very significant for the Lord. Now, at the Exodus, they changed the 17th day of the 7th month. They changed the name of the month, and they made that the first month of the year. So that became the 17th of Nisan. Okay. So let's go through the events of the Easter Day. I won't go through all of the references, but the references you'll find on the little chart at the side. The first thing that happens is that the women set out in the morning to visit the tomb, okay? And on the way, Mark records that they're discussing who will roll away the stone. Now, I'm not sure that they ever knew that there was a guard there, but they did know that the stone was in the way, and they wondered how they were going to ever move that stone. There were no men around. Women were coming by themselves. Now it's Matthew that records that there was a great earthquake and the angels came down, 2 angels came down, and they rolled away the stone and then they sat on it, which is very significant. Now they're not rolling away the stone for Jesus to get out. They're rolling away the stone for the disciples to look in or to go inside and have a look to see that it's empty. So the angels speak to the women, okay, and they tell the women that Jesus is not there. And then we have the departure of the women recorded by Matthew, Mark and Luke. and they tell the disciples and Peter. And then we have the visit of Peter and John to the tomb. Okay? But the interesting thing is they come to the tomb, they find it empty, and then they go home. And nobody yet has still seen the Lord Jesus. But Mary remains behind, and this is recorded in John's Gospel. Mary remains behind, and then later the women meet the Lord. Okay, the women meet the Lord, which is very interesting. So Mary meets the Lord first, and then the women meet the Lord after that. And then we have the report of the watch. Now, the report of the watch, the soldiers had run away, and they report that that angels came. Okay, and they're told, don't worry about it, we will sort it all out for you. And then we have the appearance of Christ that evening to two disciples on the road to Emmaus. They talk with the Lord Jesus, and then when they get to Emmaus, they have a meal, and in the meal they realize it's Jesus, and so Jesus disappears. They decide that they can't keep this to themselves, so they go back onto the road. They don't stay the night. They go back onto the road, and they go their 8 miles all the way back to Jerusalem. And when they finally get to Jerusalem, the Lord Jesus appears in the middle of them, including the two that had returned from the road to Emmaus. This is recorded by Luke and by John. Now, Thomas is missing, so the disciples finally find Thomas and tell him that the Lord has risen, and Thomas says, I don't believe in it. I don't believe in it. So then the Lord appears to the Lord appears to the 11 of them. Okay, he appears to 11 of them. And then we have the first commission, go into all the world and preach the gospel. So this is the last week of the Lord Jesus' life, but the Lord Jesus remains around. One of the things is that there's a second commission, okay, a week later, and then we're told that the disciples are to depart to go into Galilee, and there he appears to the 7 in the morning with the breakfast on the beach, and then he gives them the third commission. Okay, and then after that we have in Mark and Luke, we have the ascension and the events afterwards, and then we have the closing statement of the evangelist. So this completes the whole story. Now there are other things that happen in this story that we don't know quite the timing of them. They're not recorded, but we know that the Lord Jesus appeared to James. We know that the Lord appeared to Peter by himself, but it's not recorded when. And we know that he appeared to over 500 men all at once, but we don't know where that fits into the story. So these are all the events of the last week, well, the last day, the Easter day, and then the subsequent events. So thank you for coming on this journey with me. It's been absolutely fascinating and difficult. I have to say, this video, I've had to do it many times today, because each time I did it, I found a little mistake in the timeline. So I had to keep going back and correcting it and keep going back and correcting it. And hopefully now we've got it all correct. So there we are. We wish you every blessing and thank you for being with us on this great journey. Bye for now.